Thanks for allowing me to totter up to the stage. I wrote the intro to the next nature book, and it's like really eloquent. But since I didn't bring any graphics or even a computer, I'm not going to show you any animations. Instead, in my brief time here, I'm going to tell you a personal anecdote, which will be followed by a punchy series of mind-expanding design probes by other people. Since I am a novelist and really a relic of the analog era, I wrote my first two novels on typewriters. I have historical experience along this line, and so I'm really in a position to tell you about next nature as a historical experience or a sort of an actually lived personal encounter rather than a conceptual category. I was in Austin, Texas this summer when we had the worst heat wave in the state's recorded history, during the worst drought in the state's recorded history, and the biggest wildfire in the state's history, an epic wildfire, the Bastrop County Complex Fire, as it's now known in the history books. And I am from Texas, and I have seen wildfires, as have a lot of those, and also tornadoes and hurricanes. It's quite a lively area, but you could see this wildfire from 30 miles away. So naturally, as a next nature aficionado, I had to go have a good look. And I went and I had a look. It was going on for 3 days, almost 4, over 1,600 homes were burned. I took pictures. I'm not showing the pictures. I don't fancy myself as a photographer, but I took a lot of them. And it was primarily nature that was on fire. Not homes, not cities, but the state park. This area, which had caught fire due to a overstrained electrical power line, ignited some dry trees that had died from the drought. A wind came up and simply chased the fire across the landscape of Texas. The idea that a state would conserve its landscape is somewhat out of fashion these days, but they will certainly fight for property values, so there was a tremendous struggle to save these homes. It was really an Iraq-style aerial intervention happening. Fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, water barrels, balloons. There was intense police security during the event. It was really a spectacle. A crowd with smartphones gathered, the kind of spontaneous internet multitude we hear so much about. Of course, I was part of them. We got dispersed by the Texas Rangers. I was not arrested, although I was gawking and taking many pictures. There was really no sense that we as a spontaneous public had a right to witness these extraordinary historical conditions. On the contrary, we were, in our own way, a clear and present danger, and in addition to the trouble of the fire. The crowd witnessing the fire was, in some sense, to the police at least, part of the problem. Then the fire died down, and I walked around through the wreckage for a while. And I could go on about this all night because it was quite a spectacle. I don't have all night. These weeds and plants, which had been weakened by this long drought, burned in a way I have never seen vegetation burn. They really went up like black flash paper, just fast. Sometimes they didn't scorch the things that touched them. They just went like nothing. And even cactus had ignited. And you're likely from Holland. You're not a Texan like myself. You're not an intimate of cactus. Prickly pear cactus is a very rugged kind of vegetation. It doesn't have leaves. It just has these flat, waxy pads with aggressive thorns. But it too had been dried up by the drought. And although this cactus was still alive, it had ignited. Cactus had caught fire. And I looked at this cactus and I thought, this is not a mere fire. This is next fire that I'm witnessing. This is not a natural wildfire. This is the greenhouse effect at work. This is a climate crisis, and vegetation is not supposed to burn like this, and it does not. Now, the forest is burned, and it's burned pretty conclusively. And a lot of the trees in the forest were already dead from the drought. Either they were going to burn or they're going to be eaten by vermin. They're over. They ignited. That part I understand. What people don't understand is when this state park reverts to nature, because eventually it will rain again, something will grow. This is Texas, there's soil, there's sun. Something will grow there. It will not revert to nature, it will revert to next nature. Weeds, mostly exotic weeds, globalized weeds, introduced species are what's going to grow in that area. Because the weather is not going to return to the state that originally nurtured this forest that was there for so many centuries. So I looked at this altered landscape, and I really felt, I felt as a Texan that it somehow called for a literary response. Not just, gawking and taking pictures and, a certain kind of disquiet, but really a more considered kind of deeper statement about my area and my times and our relationship to the world. And I'm not a Texas regional novelist. I'm a science fiction writer, but I have met Texas regional novelists, and I've been subjected to their ideology, and I understand their aims as literary artists. And the great Texas novel, the traditional theme of the great Texas novel, our ideal great Texas novel, is that it should be all about fathers, sons, and the land. That's the theme, fathers, sons, and the land, because that's what bothers us. And, basically it's all about cultural heritage and the physical landscape, which in any national literature are always closely entwined. The landscape and the heritage, they're the same thing. You can write with some ease about a human tragedy, like what it's like to lose your house. You can have it burn, you can lose it financially. This is a common thing, it happens to anybody. A calamity that transforms a region, surpasses all our habits of regional literature. We just don't know how to talk about it or write about it. And to tell the truth, the real truth, the well-considered truth about what's really happening to us, to tell the truth about today and tomorrow, we are going to need help. Because that kind of literature is broken. It has burned up. There is no way back. There is only next literature now, whatever that may be. And to tell the truth, as literary artists, we are going to need help from everyone we can find. Every art, every science, every craft, every discipline. Just in order not to lie about ourselves with every page and every sentence. It's going to take a tremendous feat of reimagination. Because next nature, I can promise you, is already here. It's already here with distributors standing by. And that is why I'm here, and I hope you enjoy the evening.